Now we have,
Let's start.
let's start.
All right.
Cominciamo.
So we are going to talk about light exposure. A lot of people talk about sun exposure. I want to put a new perspective to it because now we know it's not just the UV rays that is bad for our skin. And we're going to talk about SPF. We're going to talk about UV rays. We're talking about light, blue light, visible light, everything. And you need to understand what it does to your skin. Mm-hmm. There is a good side to it. You need the sun because when your skin is exposed to sun, it creates vitamin D3.
Yeah.
And vitamin D3 is one of the most essential vitamins your body needs. Mm-hmm. But too much of it causes a lot of problems. So let's dig in and see what are the details of it and how we can get the best out of it.
So it's not just about the sun exposure, it's about light in general. Let's go.
Exactly. So we are talking about light. Light comes in various wavelengths. Some of it is visible, some of it is not. And the UVA, UVB part of it, of course, is part of not visible part. And then we have the visible light. That part of that visible light, we have the blue light. So one of the things that you need to consider is that when you look at the UVC is also bad for your skin. But the good thing about the Earth's atmosphere, the ozone layer, is that it absorbs all the UVC. So us being on the surface of the Earth, we really don't need to worry about UVC exposure.
So basically what you're saying is the sun emits light to our planet, and
Right.
it has UVA, UVB, and UVC. But we don't really talk about UVC
Right.
because the ozone
Right.
deals with the UVC rays.
Right. And if we are protected by a layer of glass in general, the amount of UVB that reaches our skin will be reduced. For example, if you are in the car with all the windows closed, the amount of UVB exposure you get will be automatically reduced. So think about it. If you have transition glasses that when you go in the sun, the color of your lenses gets darker. If you are sitting in a car with transition glasses with the windows up, it won't change color because the amount of UVB that's reaching that glass is really dramatically reduced. Now you need to talk about UVB. When it reaches your skin, it only stays on the upper part of the epidermis. So it does not penetrate as deep. However, UVA goes much deeper into your skin, and the visible light, which a component of that is blue light, actually penetrates even deeper. And then infrared goes the farthest into your body. So those are the things that we need to talk about: UVB, UVA, visible, and infrared. Now, we talked about the good part of the sun. There's a little bit of a nasty part to it, and that is when the damage happens to our skin. And so basically, in short, exposure causes inflammation. Inflammation causes premature aging, and also it can cause diseases in your skin. So let's go and dig into that a little bit. This is a very, very famous picture of a driver that this driver for years and years and years drove in a warm climate and with the window down on the driver's side. And if you pay attention to one side of the face compared to the other side that was not directly exposed, not as much exposed to the sun, one side is much more wrinkly, is substantially older, and the premature aging is so evident on one side of the face. So this is when we say sun exposure causes premature aging. This is a very good example of what can happen to our skin if we get too much sun exposure without protection. Now, The wrinkles we can do things about. Skin cancer and melanoma can become a little bit more complicated. So that is the two main reasons. The second one, more important than the first one in my opinion, is that we want to prevent skin cancer and protection from overexposure to light, UV light, and blue light, and all those is very good approach in terms of preventing melanoma. Now, we're not going to get into the science of melanoma or what happens, but understanding and being able to identify those lesions on your skin when they're formed is the most important part in my opinion. So this is why I want to spend a few seconds just describing what are the signs of melanoma when you have it on your skin. So usually you get, your skin gets darker, but there are 5 things you need to remember about those, because not every time you have a pigmentation on your skin is a melanoma. But when you see these signs, that is when you need to go see a doctor, okay? So pay attention to this, it's very important. Number 1, it's not symmetrical, so it's not a perfect round darkness on your skin. It has asymmetrical boundaries. So if you see something that is not even and it's very wiggly, then that is when you have to pay more attention. Right. The second thing is that it has a border. So around it is not, the surface of it is not as smooth, and it has a border. Around the border, it's a little bit more raised. So it almost looks like a volcano. On the outside is a little bit more out, and inside goes deep. So it has a border around it. The color inside it is not uniform, and it has multiple different dark colors in there. Some is purple, some is light red. So the uniformity of the color doesn't exist. You need to pay attention. And then the diameter is usually bigger than 6 millimeters, and also it changes in size. So if you see all these signs or some of these signs that are very obvious, it's really a good time to go see your doctor. It does not guarantee 100% that you have skin cancer, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you see some of these, it's better to have your skin checked by a dermatologist.
See, if you're predisposed to moles, for example, you tend to have beauty marks or moles, right? They tend to be much more uniform. They tend to be round, circular, they have a distinct kind of color, they kind of are very uniform. When these things don't look like moles anymore, or when you start having a lot of changes in your skin, this is why it's really good to do a health check every year when the doctors are looking at your skin all over, because yes, when we're talking about sun protection and we're talking about the light, there is the beauty component where people are saying, I want to fight visible signs of aging, I don't want to age faster, I don't want lines and wrinkles. That you can talk about vanity and beauty. But the bigger part is this actually can change your life if you're not protecting your skin and yourself from the sun exposure that can lead to these kinds of problems. So this is why it's twofold. There is a beauty benefit, but there also is a health benefit to all of this. This is why it's important to understand how to use it properly to protect yourself. And you can literally protect yourself in 2 ways.
And remember, it's not just sun protection, it's light protection.
Light protection.
So let's talk about sun protection.
SPF.
Because every time you go to a store, the shelves are full of sunscreens, and all you see is an SPF number, number 10, number 20, number 30, number 50. I've seen SPF 100 sometimes. Which, let's talk about SPF. First of all, when we're talking about SPF, remember here I talked to you about the things that are very important. UVB, UVA, visible light, and infrared. So there were 4 of them. Now, when we talk about SPF, it only talks about UVB. doesn't talk about UVA, doesn't talk about blue light, it doesn't talk about infrared. All it talks about is that number that is giving you a protection regarding the UVB exposure. Now, how is this number? What does an SPF 5? What does an SPF 10 mean? So, look, if you have a very light skin, a very fair skin, usually when you're exposed to sunlight, your skin is going to start burning in about 20 minutes. So, an SPF, one SPF unit extends that or delays that burning by 20 minutes, okay? If your skin was gonna burn at 20 minutes. So it doubles your protection, basically. So let's just do some hypothetical calculations. So an SPF of 2, under that assumption, will give you 40 minutes protection. An SPF of 4 will give you 80 minutes protection. And an SPF of 30 will give you 600 minutes of protection, which is about 10 hours. Okay, now I want you to think for a second. 10 hours in the sun. Now you go to SPF 50, that's 16 hours. SPF of 100, it's 32 hours. Okay, so where on earth we can go somewhere that we can get high intensity sun exposure for 16 hours? That doesn't happen. Now, you know, even among scientists we disagree. So I am on the side that crazy high number SPFs don't make sense. But there's a group of us that they argue with me. And Manuela, what is that argument? So in terms of the percentage that actually reaches your skin, etc., in terms of the 98% protection or...
Okay, so this is the argument. So the argument is the higher the SPF, the safer that you are, right? But in essence, it's not necessarily true. And this is where we have a lot of issues back and forth with SPF. So for example, a lot of people want to go SPF 50. On our site, and when we do formulations, we look at SPFs above 15, yes. We want it to be above 15,
right,
but not above 30. We actually like it to be between 15 and 20 or 15 and 25 or 15 and 30, in that range. Why? Because when you have an SPF of 15 and you're doing the calculations of the UVB protection, right? Because remember, SPF doesn't do UVA or visible light. It's doing the UVB. When you're doing an SPF of 15, you're covering about 93% of the damage. When you get to about an SPF 25, you're about 97, 98%. When you get to a SPF of about 30, you're still at 97, 98%. When you get to an SPF of 50, you may be, depending on your application, up to 99% protection. But you have actually loaded your skin with double or triple the chemical, and we believe that that load factor is not necessarily a gain. You now have put 2 to 3 times a chemical component on your skin with almost not even 1% benefit versus a lighter weight, more efficient, better formulation for your skin. So we actually look at the payoff. If you are going to put, you know, SPF of 15 and you're going to apply it properly, and you covered 93 or 95% of your skin damage, in our opinion, it's better than using an SPF 50 because the SPF 50, you have this false belief. I've put it on, I'm so protected, I can go do whatever I want. I don't have to reapply, I don't have to take precautions, I'm good to go. Meanwhile, you may have missed spots, you may have misapplication, and so therefore, in our world, we look at the payoff. We look at actually where is the safety marker. So an SPF for us, between 15 and 30 is where you need to be and not above that.
Right. There are always exceptions to the rule. So if you have had melanoma before, if by some genetic analysis you're predisposed to have skin cancer, then I say, okay, then it's the right choice. But for majority of the people, I think that what we believe is the right way.
And also we believe in zinc oxide. We don't believe in a lot of the other ingredients. And this is really important too, because there are many ingredients that people are using for SPF and for the sun protection. And a lot of these ingredients have to be in a silicone base. They're very aesthetically pleasing, yes, but you're now adding a lot of silicones, which again, there's a lot of agreement, disagreement with the silicone world, and also the actual SPF ingredient that they manufacture to use. But when you're using a zinc oxide, there is such a good safety element to it. It's good for your skin, it provides the protection, it doesn't photosynthesize the skin, it's very reliable, it is something that you don't have an allergy to, whereas a lot of the other ingredients can cause other issues in your skin.
Right. So one of the things that recently a few journals and publications have discussed is that previously many scientists, dermatologists, researchers believe that the physical sunscreens, the inorganic sunscreens like zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, they mostly reflect and they don't absorb. But that we know now it's not correct. All of them, including organic and inorganic sunscreens, they both absorb the UV radiation. And then how they behave after that absorption is what is really, really important. The physical sunscreen, like zinc oxide, especially, when they absorb the UV rays, they release it in form of a heat. Whereas the chemical sunscreens tend to release more free radicals in your skin.
Right.
So
when they get excited.
Let me give you an analogy, okay? Imagine if you are protecting your skin with a layer of glass, okay, from water, okay? So you put a layer of glass and just imagine for a second that that water is the rays of the sun. But now imagine for a second when the water or when it hits the glass stops you from getting wet, but during this process, it breaks down and it turns into little sharp objects that can damage your skin. So you prevented yourself from getting wet, but the little sharp edges from the glass that forms in your skin, then they go and damage your skin. This is the analogy with the sun protection when it comes to organic sunscreens mostly, is that they protect from the UV light. They don't let the UV light reach your skin, especially UVB, sorry. And then in the process, they create those sharp little things that they damage your skin. They're called free radicals. Mm-hmm. So regardless of the type of the sunscreen you're going to use, make sure that either your sunscreen has antioxidants in it, because the antioxidants neutralize the free radicals. So if we talk about vitamin C, vitamin E, those are really good antioxidants in sunscreen. So make sure they're there to give you that additional protection from the free radicals. If it's not in your sunscreen, that doesn't mean you should not use that sunscreen. Just make sure that you mix it with a little bit of vitamin A or vitamin E or vitamin C, or you use a product that has those ingredients in it in conjunction with your sunscreen. This way, you make sure that you know you're getting the best protection possible.
This is why we always say, even in all of our socials and all of our documentation, when we're talking about putting on your sunscreen, before you put on your sunscreen, you put your vitamin C on. Put your vitamin C on first, put your sunscreen on second, right? And this is to protect against the free radicals. So it's going to boost your SPF, but it also protects against that free radical exposure that your skin gets. And I want to also indicate another thing. People are out there, you want organic kind of ingredients. Organic and inorganic in this sense is not the same as the organic that you're thinking of, that it's raised without pesticides or things like that. Inorganic chemistry,
pure chemistry.
This is all about chemistry.
Yeah.
So the difference between organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry is what we're talking about. So a zinc oxide is inorganic.
Right.
So
it's not only carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. It has the element of zinc in it. Organic means, in terms of chemistry, is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. That makes it basically all organic chemicals are made of. Has nothing to do about the purity
Right.
or if it has other ingredients in it or how the material was developed or produced.
Yeah, so this may get a bit confusing
Yeah.
for people when you're looking at this terminology because organic food is not the same as organic chemistry
Right.
or inorganic chemistry
Right.
because the zinc oxide is quite
Inorganic.
natural,
And it's
but it's
inorganic.
inorganic.
Right.
Doesn't mean that it's not good for you. It's actually very good for you. So I
Right.
just want to confuse you as much as
Right.
possible.
Actually, zinc oxide, honestly, is, in my
The hero.
opinion, the hero. The
We love
best
zinc oxide.
ingredient that you can use. I put it inside of like a Superman shirt here because that's really, look, it creates the minimum amount of free radicals. It sits on the top layer of the skin. It doesn't penetrate. Even if you use nano zinc oxide, because some people don't like using zinc oxide because it forms a white film on your skin, and they don't like that whitening effect. The nano versions, they actually don't have that whitening effect. But they still do not penetrate far enough that it goes into your body. They still stay right in the epidermal layers. They may go a little bit deeper, but they don't go as far as to penetrate and get into your bloodstream, etc. That has been proven. So it is
So nanos are still safe.
UVA and UVB protection, so it's broad spectrum. When we say it's UVA and UVB, usually when you go buy a sunscreen, make sure that on it, it says broad spectrum. That means that it gives you protection against UVA and UVB. Zinc oxide does both. Titanium dioxide does both. But titanium dioxide tends to produce a little bit more free radicals than zinc oxide.
And some skin types, especially dark skin, brown skin, African American skin, it tends to be a bit more allergic or reactive to titanium dioxide.
Right. So
Increases
it's
sensitivity on your
broad
skin.
spectrum, healthy for your skin, gives you good protection. It has some soothing effects, and it's anti-inflammation type of an ingredient.
Yeah, very calming.
So it's very soothing and calming. So this is really the right way to go. A good zinc oxide formulation that is an SPF 15 and above. You're truly making a good choice. Now,
Blue light.
understanding a little bit about UVB and UVA, and then we go to blue light, okay? So, first of all, we talked about SPF, and SPF blocks the UVB, which basically penetrates only into the epidermal layers, and UVB causes the redness in your skin. So, and it can happen after a few hours of exposure. So when you see that SPF of 50, it's only talking about this redness. It's not talking about UVA. Okay, it may do nothing about UVA. Now, the difference between the UV and UVB is that, remember, UVA has more energy, so it penetrates deeper. It reaches your collagen layer. It damages your collagen. It can cause mutations in the genes. It damages your elastin, it damages your fibroblasts, and primarily the wrinkles that are formed, remember that very, very first picture that I showed you with the driver, one side exposed? That's because of the UVA component and the blue light component of the radiation that we get from the sun. So it has nothing to do with the UVB. UVB is mostly the redness, and then of course the inflammation eventually will cause some problems, but the UVA does substantially more damage in terms of premature aging than the UVB. Now, blue light exposure to your cell phone's screen, things that basically can happen indoors. And also it's a component of the visible light. That is also a big problem, and all the new studies are showing that the blue light is also extremely damaging to your skin. However, the good thing is that a lot of natural ingredients like alpha-alpha, marigold, sunflower oil. Those are actually great blue light. They provide good blue light protection. So look for some of those sunscreen products that use some of these natural forms of plant extracts that give you that additional blue light protection. Zinc oxide naturally gives you that blue light protection as well.
Zinc oxide is like the blanket.
Yes.
It does everything.
Yes.
Truly.
Okay. We talk a little bit about UV index. You listen to the news all the time, so you say UV index today is 6, 5, or etc. Basically, it tells you if your UV index is between 1 and 2, you really don't need any protection. Between 3 and 5, you need some protection. And then 6 to 7, protection is really essential. 8 to 10, it says be very, very careful.
Danger.
It's danger. Number 11 basically means that it
Stay
don't go
inside.
out.
Hide.
It's a linear index, and what you need to remember, regardless of what the index is, during the day, the worst time you can get sun exposure and damage your skin between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So this is the time that when you go out and you think you're going to be out for an extended period of time with your skin exposed, make sure you use the sun protection.
Right. So this is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Anywhere you are in the world during the daytime where there's UV, that's the worst time, right? So they always talk about the noon sun, but we really mean 2 hours on either side of that, which means if you're in the morning at 6 a.m. or in the afternoon at 6 p.m., you may or may not need to have that much sun protection. Maybe a hat's good enough, some sunglasses are good enough, and you can go for your walk, and you can get some of that UV sun to help with your vitamin D. But between 10 and 2, that's not the time to be out there trying to get your vitamin D. That's the time to make sure that you've actually applied your SPF or your sunscreen and you're following good sun hygiene, right? That you're really protecting yourself with a broad spectrum sunscreen.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about the blue light. There's one thing I just remembered I missed telling you. Now, the blue light has very high energy. It penetrates deeper into your skin. The other thing that they have found out about blue light and how it damages your skin is that the blue light, it affects the circadian rhythm of your skin. And when that rhythm is damaged, you're gonna be more prone to premature aging. So it's very, very important at nighttime, when you go to bed, turn that cell phone off, put it aside, try to avoid, or use some alfalfa or sunflower oil on your face.
So some kind of protection. But it's even beyond that. I think that you disturb your sleep cycle, your sleep-wake cycle, and that also is going to disturb the repair mechanism, the rest mechanism, and all of these things are important because your body, your skin, your cells require an inactive stage. They do require time to rebuild and to reignite or to have energy. So you want to be as healthy as you can. I mean, the more information we know, sometimes it becomes more overwhelming, but a lot of it is just down to common sense. Like if we were just to go to a natural rhythm, in the winter, we have longer days, longer evenings, therefore we should be resting more. In the summer, we have more light, we could be out more, but there is a balance, right? But we're not living like that right now. We have artificial light, we have artificial time zones, we're eating artificially grown things. All of these things do have an impact on the stress levels, the cortisol levels, and the inflammation, right? So practicing good sun protection actually helps your body also relax, helps your system not have to always be in a high stress state of defense. And this is important too, because this will also help overall with fighting premature aging, but also helping your immune system.
Absolutely.
Now, what I want to talk about is, no one's asked this question yet, but I'm sure we're going to go to questions, right? But I want to talk about something that's very interesting that we are just learning too, because remember, in science, you're always learning every single day as more information comes. Now, people have asked about reapplication of sunscreen. And they're asking about, do I need to reapply sunscreen when I have makeup on? And how often? Well, we have some good news and some controversial news. I can't wait to share it with you, actually.
Look, this is really our opinion, and it was also reviewed the same way if you know of the journals that we have looked at. Some people may disagree, but I think that is the right way scientifically.
So, the scientific journals are now coming out with results of reapplication of sunscreen. And the protocol that they're using is this. They put the liberal amount of sunscreen on your skin, right? And then 20 minutes after, 15 to 20 minutes after the first application, they do a secondary application. So that's called apply twice. And then technically, you're good to go. You don't have to reapply later on in the day. You only need to reapply your sunscreen if you are sweating, swimming, or toweling it off.
Right.
So this means when you put your sunscreen on, so this is how I envision it for all of you makeup users out there. This is how I envision it. You're gonna put your SPF on. So you do your skincare routine, you've cleansed, you put your vitamin C on, you put your sunscreen on. Sunscreen 25, sunscreen 30. Then you put a foundation on a few minutes later. Maybe your foundation is a 15 or a 20. That's your second application. That means that if you don't touch your makeup all day, if you're not wiping it off or you're not sweating it off, you don't actually have to reapply your sunscreen all day long. I think this is quite remarkable because a lot of people are fretting over, do I take all my makeup off, put it, reapply on, this is too hard, and they start worrying, or they start spraying sunscreen over their makeup and they're creating more of a mess. So if you are not swimming, if you are not sweating it off, if you're not toweling your makeup or your sunscreen off, you're good for the 5 or 6 hours that day that you're out, right? Because when you think about an SPF of 30, plus another SPF of 15, you kind of have doubled your SPF within that first application. So this new science talking about the apply twice at the start is now good enough to take you through the day.
Yeah. Remember, as Manuela said, apply once 15 to 20 minutes before you go and get your first sun exposure, and then apply it again, okay? And this way, you're good to go. Unless you dive in the pool or you're playing, say, tennis outside and you're sweating and you're wiping. So this way, it's all that protection is gone. You need to reapply it. Otherwise, you're good to go.
You're good to go. And also, you must, now, the other time is you are going to reapply your sunscreen if you are sweating, if you are at the beach, if you're going into a swimming pool. Regardless of what SPF you're using, you are reapplying after that, right? So you've gone for your swim, you come out of the water, you towel yourself dry, then first thing you do is you grab that SPF and you put that on, you put that back onto your skin. Then you're fine. You don't want to go more than 15, 20 minutes once you've come out of a sweaty swimming situation without sunscreen. That is a bit of a window that you have, a 15, 20 minute period, a grace period, but it's very small window. So try to reapply it at that point, right? Even if you've applied twice in the morning, it's not going to cover you if you've gone and actually washed it off or had it actually be wiped off.
You know what's the best way to think about it? Think about a scent or a perfume or cologne that you put on your skin. The smell is going to last for a while. Unless you wash your skin, unless you wipe it off, okay? So it's the same as the sunscreen.
Right.
As long as it's there on your skin, it's doing its job. Unless you wash it away and wipe it away, then you're good to go.
But I'm really excited about this one with the question that we get about makeup. You know, how long do I have to reapply? Do I have to reapply my SPF in the afternoon if I put my makeup on at 8 o'clock in the morning? You don't. Like really, truly, you don't. If you've used an SPF between 15 and 30 in the morning, and then you've used a foundation or another layer of SPF on top of that before you put your makeup on or as part of your makeup, you now have an extended insurance during the day. So you don't have to run out at lunchtime and redo your makeup. Like this, I think, is going to really create a lot less stress for people. But remember, if you are wiping it off, You could even reapply your foundation, which will still be but make sure you're using makeup with an SPF. This only applies if your makeup has an SPF. If your makeup does not have an SPF, you still need an SPF, okay? Now, we're open up for, do we have any questions? Oh, we have questions. All right, who's first?
If I don't go out and still staying at home until 4 p.m., should I still use sunscreen at home?
If I don't go out and stay at home till 4 p.m., should I still use sunscreen?
No, unless you want to have that UVB protection, blue light protection. So if you're using a product with alpha in it, or sunflower oil, or a light zinc oxide, other than that, you really don't need a SPF factor on your face.
Remember, your glass, the glass is breaking up the UVB, which is the burn. So you may not get the burn through the glass. You get a less mitigated, but you might still have the blue light, right?
The blue light. The blue light is the one that you need to always be concerned. Doesn't matter if you're in or out. You need to have something some protection for the blue light.
Are there any restrictions on titanium dioxide for sunscreen globally?
Are there any restrictions for TiO2 globally?
I think there's a maximum dosage that is allowed in the products. Other than that, not to the best of my knowledge.
But to the best of my, and I'm going to just verify this, but TiO2 does cause sensitivity in some skins.
Listen, sensitivity is, there's no magical rule. There is no specific test that I can do to say that your skin is going to be allergic to this ingredient and somebody else's skin is not. We don't have that technology yet. So it's try and error. If your skin is reactive to titanium dioxide, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if it's 4% or 5% or is actually 20%. Your skin is going to react if you have sensitivity. So try to go with zinc oxide.
Yeah.
It's a much better choice. I'm not trying to shoot down the titanium dioxide world, but zinc oxide is just simply a better ingredient.
So TiO2 is something that we used to use in a thing called sunglasses for the skin, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't sunglasses for the skin from Merck, wasn't it TiO2 encapsulated in glass so that you could still get the benefit?
It had octyl methoxycinnamate in it as well. So it had some chemicals. So see, we want to minimize the exposure of these chemicals to your skin because they are good in terms of protecting you from the sun, the UVB or UVA, etc. But they may sensitize your skin. So there are some technologies out there that, like having a liposome, they have like a glass bead, a ceramic bead around some of these components. So basically it forces them to behave like a zinc oxide to sit on the top of your skin.
Right.
And it just doesn't penetrate, and it can chemically absorb that UVA or UVB light, but it is just sitting on the glass,
when you think
on your
about
skin.
On your skin. So when you think about it, they can take some of the harsher, if you will, ingredients. They're very effective,
softer.
But they make them softer because by encapsulating it in the glass, it's almost creating this glass element that
it's sitting
the
on
damage
top.
still can go through, but that ingredient can still protect you from the damage, but at the same time it doesn't damage or interact with your actual skin, so your skin gets the benefit of the protection without the irritation. So this is a kind of technology that we've always been excited about because we want to be able to make elements for your skin that are calming and soothing, because having that peace and that calm and the less stress, then you can go into a healthier building of the skin or healthier
benefits without the side effects.
Yeah.
Think about it that way.
Any other question?
I'm using sunscreen that's breaking me out. What ingredients should I look for to prevent this?
I'm using sunscreen that's breaking me out. What ingredients should I look for that's going to prevent this?
Oh, that's a very, very tough question, because when you look at the sunscreen formulation, so even if you go and look at the key ingredient as a sunscreen active, it may be, for example, octyl methoxycinnamate. That does not mean you're breaking out because of that active. It could be because of how that sunscreen was formulated. You have to look at all the inert ingredients in that formulation. But I suspect is something that is heavy. Is probably you're using a sunscreen that is waterproof. Some of them tend to use a lot of silicones in there,
Yeah.
and they will form like a very occlusive barrier on your skin, will sometimes interfere with the microflora of your skin, with the stratum bifidum of your skin, with all those good bacteria, and also they don't let your skin breathe as well, so your skin breaks out. Try to go with a product that is more zinc oxide based,
Yep.
and try not to, if you're not a swimmer, if you're not an outdoors person, that you're gonna go there and work out and sweat outside, try to walk away a little bit from all these waterproof formulations.
Heavy
Because
formulas.
they have their spot, don't get me wrong. If you're a swimmer, if you're outdoors, etc., those waterproof formulations are important. But sometimes they become more sensitizing to the skin. So try to use one that is more simple formulation, less ingredients, a good zinc oxide source, and then you're done.
How do I avoid getting stung by sunscreen? Eye stinging.
Oh, how do I avoid by getting stung by sunscreen? So basically your eyes are stinging. This is why I like the encapsulated version that we had.
But listen, go with simple formulations that, again, this is why I had the Superman for zinc oxide. Zinc oxide formulations usually don't have all of these other components, like the chemical sunscreens can be irritating to the eyes. A lot of silicones can be very irritating to the eyes. Sometimes certain preservatives can be very irritating to the eyes. So go with the ones that are more natural based in terms of the preservatives. They have less phenoxyethanol in there, so there are other natural preservatives that are very helpful. Try to go with that route, and also not too much oil and too much silicones. Those are the ones that can irritate your eyes.
I found too that the cinemates irritate the eyes as well. They do irritate the eyes. So look at the back of the inky, look at the back of the ingredients, and if you see any ending that says mate or cinemate, don't use that sunscreen, because, or don't use it around your eyes.
Right.
Okay? So just use it up to this area. But if you're putting it around your eyes, chances are, especially with a silicone base of a sunscreen, it will creep. Creeping means it's going to slowly leak into the eye area. Or you put it on, and then later on in the day you touch your eye, you're burning your eye, right? So this is why zinc oxide is so great, because it doesn't tend to sting the eye area. Again, go with the lower SPF, go with a lighter formulation, and try not to have a cinemate in the formulation so that you can protect against the burning of the eye area. And if you're African American, you might want to stay from the cinemates as well, because it does not protect as well as the zinc oxide does. And I know the zinc oxide isn't as sexy unless you're doing a nano zinc oxide, but the sexier they make the formulas, the more risk you have of these combination of other ingredients that don't work with your skin, that can block your skin, that although you're putting it on, you're like, oh, it's invisible, you don't see it, and then later on you end up with zits, or you end up with a rash. So this also is something you need to take into account. You need to find the formulation that's working for you, that is the most zinc oxide with the least other ingredients, that are also giving you that non-white cast, but that protection. Any other questions?
When are we seeing more Keon?
Ah! Who asked that question? Is that Kia? Armand. Ah, when are we seeing more? Chituri. Where is, that's our little army pipe. He's so cute. I love him. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, even to our children for tuning in. We really appreciate all the support that we're getting on this channel and that at Isomers Laboratories. If you have questions or comments, if you would like a personal consultation, if you would like to learn more about the chemistry and your skin, we are here for you. Thanks so much. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you soon.
Bye.